Hey man, hope you're well. Today's question, what if your ambition is actually being driven by fear? I have, over the past few years, over the past decade, have achieved some incredible things. I'm talking delivering events on behalf of Tony Robbins, speaking on the same stage as people like Ed Milet, Stephen Bartlett, Marie Forleo, building a multi-six-figure coaching business with a team, marrying the girl of my dreams, having 2 incredible children. The list goes on and on and on. But yet most of that achievement, especially the business stuff, now I do events around the country, spoken in front of thousands of people. I'm down in Taunton today at the time of this event, the time of this video. But I'm gonna be honest with you, most of my ambition, most of my achievements, most of my drive has been coming from a place of fear. And you may say, well, what do I mean by that? What kind of fear? Well, the fear has been, for me, ultimately been, if I don't achieve, what's going to happen? Or said another way, if I don't achieve, what's not going to happen? And so what the answer to those 2 questions in a roundabout way is, at an unconscious level, I've had this thought, which is, if I don't achieve, I won't be seen as worthy, significant, great in the eyes of other people. Now, you may hear that, and for you that may not land for you, that may not resonate with you. But if you're a man who, if you're honest with yourself, when you're driving and you're hustling, it's constant, right? So if you're a man who is always busy, always working, always getting shit done, it may be that the reason why you're always go, because that used to be me until not that long ago, is because you're afraid. Not of something outside of you, but you're afraid maybe perhaps of what happens if you sit still. Here's what I've come to learn about myself and quite a lot of men that I've met recently is we as men sometimes busy ourselves because our identity is intrinsically linked and our sense of worth is intrinsically linked to achievement. Now, it's understandable, right? The way the world is, the way social media is, the kind of the Gary Vaynerchuk culture. By the way, I've got nothing against Gary Vaynerchuk. I think the guy's great. But the point I'm making is we've been conditioned to, what's the word? Hustle. And that there's no time for rest. Now, Wayne Dyer, the great late Wayne Dyer, wrote an adaptation many years ago of the Tao Te Ching. The book was called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And he talks about in the Tao Te Ching, which is an old ancient text, and it talks about how there's a time for everything. And what that means is, and he goes on to say, there's a time for being fast. Like if you're in traffic and you drive fast, you crash the car, right? So the point I'm making is, the Tao Te Ching says there's a time for everything. There's a time for fast, there's a time for slow. There's a time for day, there's a time for night. There's a time for being awake, there's a time for being asleep. There's a time for breathing in, time for breathing out. Right? Said another way, Eckhart Tolle talks about, if you think about a song, what makes a song? It's not the note, it's the gaps in between. What I've come to learn about myself is I've not given myself enough gaps in between, right? So what do I mean by gaps in between? What I mean is only over the past few years have I started to actually achieve more, but not from fear. Because what I came to realize is I was striving because I had this thought of, if I achieve enough, my mum will tell me I did great. My absent father will tell me I did great. Tony Robbins will tell me I did great. And incidentally, all those people have told me, even Tony, that I'm doing great. And yet it still wasn't enough. So you may hear that and go, well, so what's the solution? Well, for me, the solution was, firstly, awareness, because that's 90% of the problem, is you don't know what you don't know about yourself, which is why, for me, I love coaching, because coaching done well helps you see things that you can't see yourself, because you're living in your Truman Show world, and you need somebody else maybe perhaps to help you see things that you can't see. But the other was starting to slow down and just listen to the voices inside of myself. Meditation, breath work, sitting with men in conversation, talking about what I feel and what I've been feeling. And it wasn't until I started doing those things that I started to realise, hey, most of what I've been achieving, I've not really enjoyed, because I've not really been doing it for me. I've been doing it because I think in some weird way that I'm going to get some fucking gold star from either a parent from yesteryear or some fucking person on social media that I've never even met before. It's crazy. It's crazy at a logical level. And I was having a conversation with a friend just yesterday, talking about how he'd had a realization that he had one of his mentors, he realized had just become almost like a father replacement. And not like in a healthy way, like as in his realization, and I've had a similar realization, was that because he didn't have a really healthy relationship with his father, he seeked out men, other men, father figures, to fill that gap. But the problem is, it's not just filled the gap has now become an addiction. And I can definitely speak to that, where I've got many examples of mentors that I've seeked out, that I've paid to work in their mastermind programs, or I've gone and got employed by them or to work for them, because I, to one extent, didn't have the courage to go and do my own thing. And the second is because I thought, well, if they validate me, then I'll feel the wholeness and the completedness that I'm missing, that I didn't get from my dad. And I found most men, one of the problems that they've got is their ambition is driven at an unconscious level, because they're trying to still gain their father, or maybe their mother, but mainly their father's approval, whether their father was present or not. And that's definitely been me. And I won't sit here on this video and pretend like I'm completely past that, but I'm very acutely aware of it, and very acutely aware of how it's, I don't want to say held me back, but it's caused me to, because it hasn't held me back, it's actually made me overdriven at the cost of knowing myself, loving myself, appreciating myself for who I am. It's almost, for most of my adult life, I've been unable to accept me like as I am now. I've always been, anytime I've got close to accepting myself, I've compared myself to somebody else. And generally, as men, when we compare ourselves to other people, we don't do it in a positive way. We don't do it in a favourable way. We often do it in a way that is pretty cruel and unkind. So the moral message of the story is this. Firstly, if this resonates, but the second is, it's not about not having ambition, but it's about you asking yourself the question, and you've got to be really honest with yourself. Are you hustling? Like, you can sit here and say, oh, I'm doing it for my kids, and okay, cool. But when do you turn it off? Because some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, the reason why they're so successful is because they also have time off. Like, I watched Bill Gates' Brain. Really recommend you watch that on Netflix. And they go on to talk about how Bill Gates would go to a cabin, still does I think, goes to a cabin on a remote lake or something for like a week just to read books. And I think forgive me for, I'm going to butcher this a little bit, but I think either the documentary or there was a conversation somewhere in the documentary about, well, it's easy for Bill Gates to take a week off to read books, isn't it? Because he's a billionaire. But it turns out he's been taking these thinking weeks since he was at university, right? Since he was just a kid with no money. And I think, isn't that interesting? That one of the most richest men, most successful men in history, at the start of his career and even now, recognizes the importance of time to just think. And for me, like, I go, well, you don't need to even take it, because you might be hearing that going, I can't take a week to read books in a cabin, my wife will kill me. No, you don't need to do that. You could just do some of the things I do, like meditate, like breath work, like sit and talk with men. In fact, we've got an event coming up at the time of doing this video, May 23rd, where we're going to spend a day together as men, live on Zoom. Somewhere around the video there may be a link to register. If there's not, just send me a message, I'll get it to you. And we're going to spend a day, and it's going to be a day for you to effectively go helicopter view on your life, and really create a plan for the next version of you that has ambition, but it isn't driven by it's driven by meaning and not by fear. So if you like the sound of that, if you want to know more about it, there's probably a link somewhere around the video so you can find out more about the event. So anyway, that's it for me. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Feel free to share it. See you next time. Peace.